One Percenter Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your host, Sam Bakhtiar, the host of a 1%er Podcast. It's Sunday. It's freaking Sunday, and usually it's a family day, but when Bradley is in the house, I have to take that opportunity to interview him. Bradley, what's happening?
Appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Bro, you are with your family at Disneyland.
Yes.
You took an Uber here and back. You're going to take an Uber back. So you're taking about 3 hours from your family today just to be here at least. I just want to thank you. I want to appreciate you, and I want to tell you how much that means to me.
Well, I appreciate it. I almost canceled, as you know, because I was like, damn, dude, this is like a half a day. But when you commit, man, when you say you're going to do something, you got to do it.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It means a lot. It really means a lot. So tell me about the beginning. We know right now that you are, the founder, the CEO of Lightspeed VT.
Mm-hmm.
It's the premier training for all platforms. I mean, you're by far the Michael Jordan of training systems.
I'll take it.
You are. Your system, you have evolved. I mean, you made that 20 years ago. You just made it better and better and better and better and better, where I've seen many different training systems, they come and go, where because they just make it at one time and then they say, okay, they don't evolve with the time.
Yeah.
So you made it so interactive. There's tests at the end of each thing that you can make. There's people you can talk to. It's just crazy. It's just like virtual reality training. Tell me from the beginning. Tell me your history a little bit. We're going to get into how you got into that, but tell me in the history of growing up, because from what I understand, at one time you were going to get adopted.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You must have done your research.
Yeah. I know about you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, at 2 years old, I almost was orphaned out. My mom and dad got a divorce, and there was 4 of us. And so there was 5 of us actually. One was a brand new baby. Mm-hmm. I was the second one up, about 2 years old. So they shipped us off to a foster home, and pretty much the 4 of us were heading off to separate houses, and we were getting adopted out. But my grandmother on my dad's side told him he better get his ass over and get his kids. So thanks to my grandmother, she basically told my dad, take care of your responsibility. So he came to get us, and we didn't get adopted out, but almost. But that was 2 years old.
And then tell me what happened. Tell me how your life, how that evolved after that. Tell me about your upbringing. Tell me what because you're from Pacific Northwest, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay.
Oregon. Well, fortunately, my dad remarried somebody that was open to having 4 kids, which is obviously makes him a good person just from that alone. Yeah. So she was a teacher at a college, and pretty much took on 4 of us. Yeah. So we didn't have a lot of money. My dad was kind of a blue collar worker at the time, and just kind of grew up with 2 brothers, 1 sister on the top of a hill. What was crazy though is this hill, there was a lot of nice houses around, mm-hmm. and the house we lived in was this little shit box. Mm-hmm. And you don't see that nowadays. Usually, like in this neighborhood, if they're all nice houses, they're all nice houses. Yeah. Well, here it wasn't. So from 2 to 4 or 5, I don't really remember much, but the first thing I remember is being about 5 or 6 years old, and I was running around with all the neighborhood kids, and again, they were all, financially way above where we were. Mm-hmm. And so for some reason, I felt ashamed, so I started lying and telling everybody my dad owned Disneyland, and just ultimately every time I opened my mouth, I was lying about everything. And it backfired. So very early I learned if you're not yourself, you're gonna have issues. You can't put a facade on and keep it up forever. There's gonna be holes. So if you build a foundation on a fake front, it's only a matter of time before it crashes.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah, so I learned that early on by basically being hated. Not hated but nobody really wanted to hang out with me. I was known as a liar from like 6 to 8 years old. It backfired big time. So from that point forward, ultimately I started being myself, saying, listen, if you don't like who I am, I guess you shouldn't, right? Yeah. And ultimately grew up in Oregon, just kind of average blue collar. My dad did start being entrepreneurial, but somewhere in there, my dad and my uncle were partners on a bar, a tavern. And someone came in there, drank too much, went out and got in a crash, and then sued the bar. Well, like a couple months earlier, as the story goes, my uncle had canceled the insurance to save a little money. So my parents were completely uninsured, apparently, got sued, and then it just knocked him back down to nothing. And he kind of just gave up, man. Just went back to blue collar, working at the mill, never tried again.
He got knocked down, he just stayed down.
Knocked down and stayed down. Now again, I mean, he just convinced himself, screw it, I'm happy. Which I don't think he was, but he was hardworking, ethical, did everything right, busted his ass, and just never made it. He started to, but again, one little mishap took him out of the game.
Yeah.
So I watched that, and then about 16 years old, I came home. My dad drank a little bit, well, quite a bit. So I came home one time. I'd forgot to mow the lawn. So he came home, he was a little bit drunk, and he was kind of a tough dude. Like he wasn't real tall, but he'll pop you right in the mouth if you got in his face. So he came home one time and said, hey, you're supposed to mow the lawn. And I said, well, I forgot. And he said, well, I think you better hit the road. So literally packed a bag, took off at 16, never looked back. So at 16 years old, I got booted. Now, obviously, with no parent supervision, I decided dropping out of school was probably the smartest move. Decided I wanted to be a movie star. Actually came down here. Ended up sleeping on the beach for a little bit. And then ultimately just found sales. So long story short, became really good at sales. About 30 years old, I started a training company, which very quickly led me to build Lightspeed because I was out on the road trying to train people and it wasn't working as well as it should. So I kind of did a little research and I found 4 ingredients that are necessary if you want to effectively train somebody. And I didn't have those being executed on a regular basis. So I knew if I didn't change that, I was either going to have to, stop doing it or fix it, because I was charging like $10,000 a day to train people. And I'm not going to take your $10,000 if I know full well I'm not training your people.
Yeah.
They didn't know it, but I knew it, and I knew full well that I wasn't really training people. So just out of necessity, I created Lightspeed about 20 years ago. And
well, what gave you that idea? You're probably like, you were training people when then the demand got higher and higher and higher because you were delivering results, and you were like, only if I can just duplicate Brad Lee and be able to just go do more of these and more of these and more of these. Is that what the thought process was?
Yeah.
And because I want to see what the thought process was for you, because usually they say people who are really successful are people who found a solution to a problem.
yeah,
And you found there was a problem and you found an amazing solution to it. And you capitalize on it because now people can train their staff a lot faster, a lot more economical, and they can make sure that their staff actually went through the training, watched the training, and passed the test before they go to the next step, which you and I know that if you want to scale your business without the proper training is it's not possible.
Well, it's possible. It just takes a lot more time and effort and resources, and it's not as effective. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not very economical, as you put it. Yeah. So I just found a better, faster, stronger, smarter way of doing things. So ultimately, I originally just didn't like traveling. I was out on the road a lot. I was saying the same thing over and over. The only thing that was changing were the people, the faces. And so I just thought to myself, man, why do I have to show up in person and say the same thing? Like I'm not saying anything new. Mm-hmm. I was teaching people the same things over and over. So I just thought, why can't I film this? But in person, when I was training people, I would ask questions, and based on their answers, I would respond differently. If I asked you a question and you responded, well, that would determine what I said next. Mm-hmm. So a video, or I should say a linear video, is not able to interact with the individual. So it just made me think, I need to figure out a way where I can, use video, but emulate what I did in real life, which is ask questions and respond accordingly. So I kind of just thought up, man, what if I could create a video that would allow me to ask questions and then respond just like I did in real life? So I just went out and found some programmers that, well, the first programmers I found really couldn't accomplish what I wanted. The vision was too grandiose for their capabilities. And I just kept, and they were, some of the best. And I just kept saying, this has to be able to be possible. And they said, there's only one person that we know of that can do it. But they're very expensive. And, there's a long line if you want to talk to them. So I said, well, who are they? Guy writes down this company named StyleWise and a guy named Jason Straub and told me, good luck. So I went and found Jason, and he had a company called StyleWise, and I talked him into building my system or attempting to. He didn't think it was possible either. But I said, hey, just do this. He came out with this huge bill, He's like, that's what it cost. And I said, well, I don't have that. So if you built it, though, I'd be able to go sell it, and then we'd have not only that, but millions more. I thought within 90 days, everyone would, crap their pants and take this seriously, and it'd be huge. So ultimately, I just had to convince him to build it without giving him a dime, because I didn't really have anything. And so that's what he did. He basically gave me credit to build the first version. And once he saw what I was doing and saw kind of how it would continue to be utilized, he decided he'd rather do that than what he was doing. So StyleWise became StyleWas, and I gave him, a quarter of the company and said, come with me. And him and his whole company kind of just became my company. That's pretty and Lightspeed. Cool. And so that's
he
when
saw the
Lightspeed,
potential. So one of the best programmers in the world saw the potential.
Yeah.
And left what he was doing.
Yep.
And said, Brad, let's do this together.
Well, he was tired of building something and then handing it off, and then building something and then handing it off. I mean, he was doing multi-million-dollar projects, but as soon as he was done, his team was done, he'd go to the next one.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was feast or famine, right? Someone had to sell those jobs.
Gotcha.
So he was tired of the starting over and over. So it didn't happen all at once. It kind of gradually got to what I just described, but ultimately he one day came up and he said, what are you doing with those? Because I started out with interactive CD-ROMs first. The internet was just barely coming online. So I had an interactive CD-ROM built first, and the CD-ROM was interactive. It was cutting edge. It was cool. No one was doing it. And I was having him create those custom to each client. And he came in one day and he said, what are you doing with those? And I said, I'm just out selling them. He says, what are you getting for them? And I said, $99.95. Now he was charging me $100 for these to customize each one, make a new version of it. And he said, well, how are you making any money? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I'm charging you $100. You're selling them for $99.95. And I'm like, no, $9,995. And he said, people are paying you $10,000 for those? And I'm like, per year? And he goes, per year? And I said, yeah, I license them. I just let them use them for the year. And he just couldn't believe that. He's like, damn. So some of the customers started asking for new ones, right? And they'd cost me $100, but hey, we lost them. Someone stole them. One of them got scratched. So it kind of evolved into Lightspeed. It didn't just start. I didn't just say, hey, I need to build this and just imagine.
Everything. I think every business, it evolves to what it is today. And I guarantee you, 10 years from now, it won't be the same business it is today.
Yeah, it evolves. It continues to evolve. Yeah. Like people always say, put on your blinders and never quit. Like that's bad advice. You have to make adjustments. You have to pay attention to the information you're getting and make adjustments along the way. One time I came out with my 5 factors of success. One of them is take a chance, because most people are too afraid to even take a chance. Yeah. So if you don't take a chance, you're just going to work for someone who did. So you might as well do it yourself. Yeah. Don't be too afraid. What's the worst that can happen? The second one is, you want to look to solve problems. Most people are avoiding problems. Like, think about it. You walk up to somebody and say, you want a problem? Most people are like, no. they spend their entire lives trying to avoid discomfort and avoid problems when problems are in actuality opportunities. Yeah. And I've always kind of looked at them that way. I like them, they're like a game or a puzzle. So solve problems. And the third one's make adjustments. Most people, they refuse to make adjustments. You know, this is my invention, and if you don't like it, you're stupid and I'm right. And, you know, I just kept making adjustments, listening to what people were saying, watching what was going on, make a little adjustment. So the CD-ROMs became obsolete because everybody wanted new ones. And of course, you know, they gave me 10 grand. And, you know, a lot of them talked me down, so I'd take 7 and 6 and 5 and whatever I could get. But ultimately, they wanted new ones, and those cost me every time, and I knew I couldn't sustain this. But the biggest thing that really sparked the online Lightspeed platform was I told people, if you don't get results by using these, I'll give your money back. Now, the disclaimer was you have to make sure everybody in your organization is fully trained before I will pay you any money back. Because the key is if you knew this material, I promise you, you're going to win. I promise you, it's like you can't run 5 miles a day and be fat. Like, dude, it'll happen if you do this. So a couple of customers called.
I like the analogy. The analogy is amazing. Well, you can't run 5 miles a day and be fat. It's so true. So true.
I mean,
if everyone knows their shit in your organization, you're going to do better. I mean,
at the end of the day,
bottom line.
It's the bottom line. So one of these dealers called me one day and he said he wants his money back. Now, dude, I didn't have any money to give him. I didn't have the money to go down to his office, which was here in California. I had to borrow money to fly down to test his people because he called me and said, hey, I want my money back. I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, it's not working. I said, was everybody trained? Oh, yeah, everybody's thoroughly trained. I said, are you sure? He said, oh, I'm damn sure. I said, well, I need to come check. He said, come on down. I said, okay. Damn, I don't have the money to get down there. Damn, I didn't have the money to give it back either.
Well, if you ain't got money to go down there, you don't got the money to give it back.
No, dude. And so I was like, oh, crap. I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. Now, worst case scenario, I'll work for his ass because I can close anybody on anything. Back those days, I was like an animal. Yeah. So I was willing to work the money off if I had to. But first things first, let's test your users. Let's test your salespeople. So I borrowed some money to fly down there. It took 4 or 5 hours just to see the dude. I mean, a prick he was watching me and just basically making me hang and wait to talk to him. So my flight back had to be rescheduled, which cost me more money. Why? Because he just made me wait like prick. But anyway, so I'm sitting there waiting. Finally, he says, okay, come in. So I walk into his office and he says, did you bring my check? And I said, well, I'm here to make sure everybody's trained. He says, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I don't know. Get 2 of your best salespeople, bring them in, and let's see if they know the presentation. Because if you knew this presentation,
you can't.
You know it. It's like your ABCs. Yeah. You either know them or you don't. Yeah. So I said, bring in 2 of your best salespeople, and he said, okay.
And not even the best. You're not even you asked him for the best one. So I love it because you weren't trying to weasel your way out. Give me your 2 best ones because if the best ones don't know, then the sucky ones definitely don't know.
I just wanted to see if they knew it. Yeah. And if they know, because it started a particular way. There was no question. So he waved in 2 of his salespeople. They came in. He said, and I'm thinking this whole time, dude, I'm screwed. I'm nervous. So 2 of these sharp sumbitches come in here. They're all suited up. I'm thinking, oh boy, here I'm going to be screwed in a minute. So as soon as they walked in, he said, this is Brad. And they looked at me and they said, hey, nice to meet you. Well, that gave me a little bit of comfort. Because I knew if they didn't know who I was, they must not have saw the CD-ROM because I'm on it. Mm-hmm. And I would think they would know who I was. Like when they walked in, they'd be like, oh, you're the dude. Yeah. They didn't say that. So that kind of gave me a little bit of relief. And I said, hey, how you doing? I'm here to check on you, to make sure you know how to do the lease presentation that we were teaching on that CD-ROM. They said, yeah, what do you want to know? I said, well, let's just go ahead and start the lease presentation. And they started, and it was clear they don't know what that was. And so I looked over at the guy, and the guy looked at me and he said, all right, thanks for coming in. Goes to shake my hand like, all right, you don't know me, get out of here. Well, first of all, dick, I've been sitting here for 4 hours. Second of all, now I got to change a flight. It just bothered me. So on the way back to the airport, I'm sitting there thinking, there's got to be a way where I can see who's trained before I even come down here.
Yeah.
So that's when I really decided, okay, I need to put this online. I need to put this to where I can track, measure, and monitor who's doing what. So when someone called for their money back,
You don't have to fly down there. You can just say, hey, no, this guy didn't watch it.
I could press a button and say, dude, 4 out of your 7 people haven't even been through it.
And then there's tests at the end and all that kind of stuff for them to be able to, you can put tests.
Well, there was always tests.
There's always tests.
There was always tests.
Oh, they passed the test?
But now I'm tracking it in real time. So the accountability mechanism
is huge.
was the final one. Well, it's key. The 4 ingredients you need to train people, if you want to train people effectively, is A, good content. Because if you train someone effectively to do it wrong, they'll do it wrong. You don't want that.
You don't want that.
So you have to train them effectively, good content, repetition, practice, and accountability.
Say that again. So there are four ingredients basically for effective training. Say that again, because I gotta get this.
Good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. See, most companies they have good content, but they don't have repetition, or they don't have they don't practice enough, or they don't have any accountability. So like a lot of these training systems that are out there, it'll show you if they watched a video. But trust me, folks, I watch mixed martial arts doesn't make me a black belt. Okay, so it doesn't matter that they watched the video. What do you really want to know? Did they understand the information? So you have to test them. A lot of them won't even allow you to test, and the ones that do, the tests are weak. Like they're just multiple choice. You can hit back and try again, and through process of elimination, pass, which is foolish. So we have better testing mechanisms. But ultimately, I put it online so I could track, measure, and monitor what was happening, but it was always for myself. Everything I created for myself. I was solving my own problems, and what I didn't realize until later is as I was solving my own problems, I was solving their problems and a lot of people's problems. So once I created the online system, I started selling it for $1,000 a month to companies that wanted to train their team. And what was crazy is I'd go ask a lot of these guys for $10,000, right, for the CD-ROMs. They'd say no. But they would give me $1,000 a month to access the same thing because they thought they'd just train everybody real quick and then they're done. But see, training isn't something you did, it's something you do.
Keep doing.
Yeah, so they didn't realize when they said, hey, I'll do it for $1,000 because they thought they were being smart.
They thought they were just going to play basketball and just stay sharp at it.
They thought they'd save $9,000. They were going to give me $1,000, train everybody, and then, you know. So they would give me $1,000, and a lot of them paid me $1,000 for the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So they said no to 10, but they've been giving me $1,000 a month for 20 years.
So it's been like 180 grand now.
Oh, and not only that, dude, they've made a lot of it. I've done a lot of tests to where, I can prove to any company training is the single highest ROI you can make.
I agree with you 100%.
It's the best investment.
I agree. It's so awesome because, some people think that, okay, you're going to train your employees once and they're going to be it. It's like shooting basketball at the free throw line, right? You got to keep practicing. You got to keep practicing. Nobody's going to be able to even, the best of the best don't practice for, a little bit and stop. They keep practicing. And number one thing you said, is obviously it was content, but repetition. So repetition is very important for everyone to stay sharp if they want to make sure they follow protocols and stay sharp in their, in whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if repetition wasn't necessary, school wouldn't be 12 years, it'd be 12 days.
Yeah, so true.
Like you have to have repetition. What do they do in school, man? You're learning the same thing all year long, then they test you, make sure you understood it, and then you move on to the next thing. But if there's repetition, it's required, it's almost mandatory. So it's almost like if you made a cake, leave out the egg and see what happens. Leave out the sugar, leave out one thing in that recipe, and it doesn't come out right. Well, that's the problem with training, and most companies aren't even aware of it. Most companies literally think they have a training program when they've got an exposure program. They expose their people to information once, maybe twice, and then they're like, well, they're trained. That doesn't make them trained. That makes them exposed. And if you want to expose people to information and expect them to actually master it, well, then you're the fool. So this system that I created kind of allowed me to track, measure, monitor, provide the repetition, the practice, and the accountability, because the interactivity allowed me to emulate what I did when I was in person, which there was nothing like it, period. What's crazy is there was nobody training online when I started. Mm-hmm. So someone said to me the other day that they're like, so you started online training? I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd make that claim because I don't know for sure, but nobody was training online when I started training online. So technically, I started training before all the people you see now doing it. And how I kind of made another adjustment is after I was fairly successful, I had maybe 60, 70 customers giving me $1,000 a month. And, it's pretty decent money, especially for a, dropout,
Yep.
And I'm like.
And you dropped out at 11th grade, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you just had one more year to go. You're like, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't know what I know now. Like, I wish I would have stayed, went to college only for the experience and the relationships. Yeah. When people ask me, should I go to college? I say, yeah, go to college. Yeah. Why? Because you're going to meet people. You might meet your wife, your best friend, your business partners. Yeah. You're going to get an education on top of it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. But if someone said, do I have to go to college to be successful? Hell no. Matter of fact, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I agree with you.
But I would recommend people go. Yeah. It's fun. It's an experience. You meet relationships. And I think relationships are the new economy. I mean, it's not what you know a lot of times. It's who you know.
And the kind of relationship you have with them.
Yeah, and where you met them and like how strong that relationship is. Like if I didn't know you, I guarantee you I wouldn't be here. Yeah. Not that this is a big value to you, but I'm here because you and I know each other.
Well, let me first of all say this is a huge value. To have you on the show, Brad, I mean, you are a pretty big deal. And I appreciate you and I appreciate everything you've done for the industry. So you being here is a huge value for me. And I know for a fact that, if you didn't know me or, we didn't have that relationship, I
definitely wouldn't have.
Of course.
Like Disneyland. Yeah. My wife's like, you're doing what?
Gosh, man. I mean, I hope she doesn't like mad dog me next time I see her.
No,
like,
she won't. She's sweet. But I almost canceled, which would have been a knock on my own integrity because I always say, do what you say you're going to do. But man, when I saw it was like an hour to get there, an hour, and I'm thinking, oh, dude, maybe I'll do this another day. Yeah. Thinking I'll just procrastinate. Well, we know how procrastination works.
And I would have got you.
Don't procrastinate, kids.
Except the next couple of days, man, it's crazy. Then I have to go to I'm going to Vegas.
For Mr. Olympia?
Yeah, so we have a booth there. We're going to stay there, whatever. I'll hit you up if you're around.
Yeah, I'll be up there for one day.
Yeah.
When's the Olympia?
Olympia is Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, I'll be there Thursday, and then I got to go. But back down here for Jordan.
Yeah.
So the cool part was, it started working for me. I started selling dealerships. I started selling organizations. And then I got to a point where I couldn't really sell more because everyone kept telling me, oh, we use so-and-so and we use this person and that person. And I'm trying to convince them that I'm better than this person and that person, which I am. Or I was specifically then for sure. But I didn't want to keep battling the big name brands. So I thought to myself, well, hold on. I can either compete with these guys or maybe even collaborate with these guys. So I went and knocked on their door and I said, listen, I guarantee you're having a problem training people. They're like, what do you mean? Because, they got to say, oh, my training's the best. Yeah, but your delivery isn't the best. You're out on the road. You're freaking exposing people. You don't have repetition. You can't track people in real time. Why don't I do this? Why don't I take my name off my technology and my content out of my system, and I'll put your name on it and put your training in it. And I even already know companies that'll buy it because they're telling me they won't buy mine because they want yours, but you don't have any. So that's why they're not doing it. So why don't we make a deal? I'll do everything. You just give me a little piece for my niece, little sliver to deliver. I'll do it all. And so they said, okay. So we tried it. Well, that was, back in those days, Grant Cardone, Joe Verdi, Alan Ram, Zig Ziglar, Tom Hopkins, John Maxwell, like the names that everybody were already using and knew. And so that's when I decided to private label my system and start using it to help other trainers train people. Yeah, so I kind of made another shift. So I started out, hey, I'm going to be a trainer. Then I started out, well, I need a CD-ROM. Then I said, no, it needs to be online. Then I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I should get out of the training business and help trainers. So I started doing that. And then the trainers started finding a lot of success with it. And then they started selling it to companies. And then companies would call and say, well, we need to train on more than just what these guys offer. Can we have the system to train on our own things? And I'm like, sure. So started private label it to companies. So here we are 20 years later, and now we've got like some of the top companies and brands. And
Can you talk about how many people are using Lightspeed right now? Is that something that you're comfortable talking about?
yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact number.
But I mean, give me close. I mean, you don't have to be exact number.
It's, there's not a lot. Maybe 2.5, 3 million people.
That's freaking amazing, though.
No, dude, there's billions of people. Like that's a scratch. There needs to be hundreds of millions before I'm satisfied.
No,
but
I totally get it. You know, you're somebody who, you know, here's what I love about you. And you know for a fact that you have the best system out there. And I agree with you. And I agree with you. I know for a fact that you have the best, you know, some people bullshit around, you know, they know their shit is not the best, but they act like it's the best. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
But you do know that you have the best system, and I'll second that because we use it. I've been through it. I know all the capability and everything like that. And you don't apologize about it. You say, I have the best system. Everybody needs it. Every organization needs it. It's going to change your fucking business.
Period.
You know what I mean? Period, right?
If you use it.
Of course.
You know, again, look, I bought a treadmill, dude, didn't
Yeah.
do shit for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. You got to ride this thing.
Yeah.
Then it started working a little bit. But if you use it, it will be the best investment any company makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or individual for that matter.
100%. And I totally agree with that.
It would be like if you gave me this and you walked up one day and I was sitting in it listening to the radio waiting for the bus, and you'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm waiting for the bus. It's a nice, comfortable, bus station with a radio. And as soon as the bus rolls through, I get out and I go get on the bus. Obviously, I don't know how to use the car very well. So in some cases, a customer may get a training system, ours or any of them, and if they don't use it, it's not going to work. Just like anything, just like any technology.
Yeah.
But for the most part, ours is definitely the best there is on earth. Matter of fact, I would argue that ours is one of the only ones, because a lot of times people think these competitors are training systems, and they're not. They're hosting solutions. They will host your video and let you give people access to your videos. That is not a training system. A training system is designed to get you to learn what's in it, not designed to let you host. So the rest of them are
measure progress. It needs to track timing. Everything that that your system does. Tell me the difference between like your system, Lightspeed VT, and something like Kajabi.
Well, Kajabi is good for what it is, which is a hosting solution. But that's like saying, what's the difference between, a hand-built go-kart and that?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I mean, it's huge. All the details, right?
It's
all the
it's
details,
huge
right?
difference.
All the details.
Kajabi kind of allows you to upload or host a video, and not even a very big one, but ultimately Kajabi allows you to host a video and build a website so you can sell it, which tells me you're more concerned about the money than you are the actual learning. I'm concerned about the learning. My mission is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it, because I think we'd live in a more successful world. There's businesses going out of business. There's teenagers getting pregnant. There's kids dropping out of school. There's families getting broken up. There's divorces going on. Why? Because someone doesn't know something. That's why. They don't have the information. No one intends to fail, right? People go out of business because they don't know how to close a deal. They don't know how to leverage financing. They don't know how to generate leads. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to build successful lead generation or close them when they come in. That's just a lack of knowledge. So, because one of the catalysts of starting this whole thing was, my dad and this other guy that basically worked their asses off, but they didn't have the right information. So you can work your ass off. You can be ethical. You can do all the things they tell you to do, and it doesn't mean anything. You can go out of business very quickly, very easily, even if you're a good guy, even if you're doing the right thing, even if you work your ass off. If working hard was all it took, everyone in the military would be rich, right? A lot of the farmers would be rich. Okay, they work their asses off. That's not what gets you rich.
It's how efficient, what you get done. It's how fast you get it done.
Well, not only that, but I mean, it's knowledge. You have to have the right knowledge. If I go punch this wall for 30 minutes or 30 days or 30 years, it's not going to cave in with my fist. I have to have the knowledge to go get a different tool, to go get different information, and then apply and try to make that goal happen.
You said that you started white labeling your, Lightspeed VT to many of the coaches and many of the things out there, and you said for a piece of, how'd you say, a piece of a silver?
A little piece from my niece.
A
sliver to deliver. I'm taking a little fraction of the revenue.
Got it. So, at the time, you got all these guys, under Lightspeed VT, and obviously the guys weren't making any revenues from that. So you started, doing this. They started making revenues from this training system, and you were making a small piece. Did at any one time, all of a sudden, someone says, you know what? I don't need fucking Brad. I can take this shit, do it myself. I'm gonna cut his shit out, cut himself out. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, they try. A couple have tried. What's funny is all of them have come back so far except one. You know who I'm talking about, but he's still on my platform. He needs it for his what he calls his enterprise. In other words, he can't deliver through any other platform what he delivers to his bigger, more valuable clients.
Yeah.
Individuals, the individual person that wants to see videos, they don't really need Lightspeed, because again, Lightspeed's designed to track, measure, monitor, test, role play, practice, and a business needs it to see who's doing what. Okay, an individual, they don't really need as much of that tracking and analytics. They just kind of want the video.
Got it.
So one guy decided he didn't like paying me a lot of money every month, and kind of, I don't want to say reneged, but went back on the deal and jumped over here and tried to cut me out. But oh well, you know what I'm saying? You just keep rolling.
That's just life, right? I mean, I know, I own gyms, right? And what I do is I attract clients into the gym, and I feed my trainers clients. When the trainer gets busy, all of a sudden he goes, well,
what do I need you for?
Yeah, he goes, yeah, exactly. Sam's getting, I have all these clients. I'm the man. I'm making all this money. Why am I splitting it with Sam? They don't understand the overhead and, everything that's associated to get that thing, to the pipeline. And, that happens, I think probably happens in every industry.
Oh, yeah. I've had employees do that sometimes. And I always say, look, it's easy to get side work when you're working at the shop. In other words, I had a guy one time, he would get this side work from clients that I had that would say, hey, I'll throw you a little extra if you can do this on the side. Well, he started making so much money from the side work on the side, which wasn't, in other words, it wasn't ethical to begin with, but he was making so much money on the side that he decided to tell me that he wanted to quit, or I need to pay him a lot more money, et cetera, et cetera. So it's funny too, because when you don't do the right thing, man, it's going to end one of these days. So anyway, I told him, look, I'm already paying you at the top of the scale. I can't really help you. If you have to go, you have to go. I understand. So he quit thinking he had all this side business. Well, as soon as he quit, guess what? He didn't have as much side business. So the business started to dry up, and pretty soon he wanted his job back. I'm like, what happened? But between then and now, I had discovered, the reason he was quitting is because all these side businesses or these clients were paying him on the side to do these side things. And now that he didn't work for my company and all those people weren't around, the side work dried up.
Yeah.
And then he realized, hey, wait a minute, this isn't as easy as I thought.
Sooner or later, man, if you don't do the right thing, it's going to come catch up to you.
If you don't do the right thing, it's going to bite you. That's a fact. And that's a fact, folks. You better pay attention to that one. Because listen, it's not hard to do the right thing. We all know what it is. It's just we get tempted to do the wrong things. Whether it be fast, money, fast cars, fast women, it'll all crash eventually if you don't do the right thing. You don't build it on a solid foundation, it's going to go away.
What is your goal? I mean, obviously, you want hundreds of millions of people using your platform.
Yeah.
What is your goal, for the next 2 to 3 years? Do you have projections? Do you have anything, specific goals that you write down that you want to hit?
Yeah, I have a goal in the next 5 years. So by the time I'm 55, I just want to retire, and hopefully I'll hit $1 billion evaluation. So my goal is $1 billion evaluation in the next 5 years. As soon as I can say Lightspeed's $1 billion company, I win in my book.
Yeah, because that was your big audacious goal, right?
Yeah,
that's
well,
what you had.
Dude, a millionaire is easy nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Multi-millionaire is fairly easy nowadays. Yeah. 100 million, now you're getting up there. Yeah. But $1 billion, I think that's the new millionaire. Like when I was a kid,
oh gosh, man,
a millionaire was everything. Like, he's a millionaire.
Me too.
So like when we grew up, well, now a millionaire, dude, is pretty easy.
Cool like 25 years ago.
Yeah, I want $1 billion because that's the new millionaire. Gosh. That's the new accomplishment, at least for me. And I want enough money to give out money because everyone's quick to give out advice when in reality, sometimes, dude, money is what people need. And, I don't know, a lot of people don't agree with me. They're like, well, that'll hurt them. Look, dude, if I'm losing my house and I need 50 grand, I don't want your bullshit advice. Like, save my house and then give me some advice. But at the end of the day, my kid needs a surgery or he's going to die. I don't have the money. Like, that person doesn't need advice.
I love how giving you are, man. You didn't tell me I want to, $1 billion because I want to get 5 private jets and I want to, do this. I mean, I'm sure that's going to come with the territory, but the first thing you said is I want to be able to give. Yeah. And to me, that's pretty noble. Most people, the first thing talk about $1 billion, man, it's like most rappers, man. Let me go get this, I don't know, G5, G7, whatever it is, let me get, this, that kind of stuff. But just for you saying, I want to be able to give money away, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I mean, as far as financially goes, I've already accomplished as much as I need. Yeah. Again, I grew up kind of, I don't want to say low class, because we were always high class, just low income. Yeah. So at the end of the day, financially, I could quit right now.
You're good.
Yeah, I want to be able to get there so I can give. Like, I don't need 100 Ferraris. I don't need, not that it's bad, by the way.
You need, it's.
I said it one time, Andy Frisella, Andy. Yeah. He got all pissed. Well, he didn't get pissed, but he was busting my balls because if you've seen his garage,
dude, I've been to his house.
Unbelievable car collection, and I'm not banging on that. Like, dude, I would love to have all these car collections, and I might, but my point is it's not about money at some point. Like right now, one more of these does not turn you on. What turns me on is watching somebody's face go from anguish and pain and despair to frickin' happy and hope and possibility. And sometimes money does that. Like, I don't know about you, but I've given people money before and like in a certain situation, and dude, they cry, they frickin', it changes their whole game. Now, I could have sat down and said, listen, I'm not gonna give you any money, but I'm gonna teach you some things. It doesn't matter what they're gonna teach. They need money right now to get out of the situation. I just want enough to give out money, cash. It's funny too, because a lot of people, they wouldn't do that. I say, listen, when your cup overflows, help fill up other cups. Yeah. You don't need to go get more cups.
I'm nowhere where you're at financially, but this house is paid for, my cars are paid for, and the cool thing with me is like I was I don't have $1 billion ambition because for me that's still, my mind still rejects it. You know what I mean? So if you go to my office, I have a $100 million check with a date on it. The first time I did the same thing when I wanted to be a millionaire. I had $1 million check with a date on it, and I got it, way before the due date. So and I always told all my everyone who works with me and things like that. I'm like, you know what? If I got a $100 million check tomorrow, my life wouldn't change. Your life wouldn't change. You're not motivated by just that. That's just a measure of your progression. You want to improve. You want to move forward. You know what I mean? And $1 billion. I mean, you're gonna, your life changes, but it's not like if you were piss poor and you became a millionaire. You know what I mean? That's a big drastic change. Yeah. Right. And all of a sudden going from what you have or what I have, you're just like, okay, man, I already got a pretty nice cars. I have a pretty nice home. I'm like, what the fuck else do you need? After a while, it's more becomes fulfillment and joy and giving back.
Yeah. Well, again, like look at this right here. Like you could have $1 trillion. It's not going to get much nicer. And if it is, it's just you're being stupid. Yeah. Like that's gold-plated floors. Yeah. Like, dude, you really need gold-plated floors? Like, there's freaking hungry people out there, bro.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's where I'm at. Where in my mind, money just gives you more choices, and I'm pretty free, and I have a lot of choices now. I don't need more choices, but not that I won't, because I know what's going to happen 3 to 5 years from now. Someone's going to be like, "Why are you getting a jet?" I thought you said, dude, don't question me. That's what I'd say. Don't worry about me, bro. It's my money. But the reason I want to do it is to have the ability to financially give certain people cash to get out of situations or to get them into situations. Mainly healthcare. I watched a guy's child die because they didn't have enough money, and I didn't have it back then at the time enough money. And I thought, man, if wouldn't it be? All they needed was like 60 grand to get this surgery. And it's like, he didn't have 60 grand. No one had 60 grand. And the child passed. And it's like, dude, I'd never want that to happen to me. So I'm not going to go around the country looking for, sick children. I'm going to just live, but I'm going to have the ability to find those people and help them more than just advice and teaching people. I want to be able to financially give back to people or schools or organizations.
So for someone who's starting business or they're brand new at business, what 3 advice would you give? Give me 3 advice that they, that's going to solidify their success.
When they start a business?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there are 3 things that will guarantee their success.
But we'll make sure they're on the right path.
Number 1, look for problems, don't avoid them. Number 2, ultimately be willing to make adjustments. And number 3, always make sure that the relationship is first. In other words, don't worry about selling somebody, worry about making a relationship. Too many times people will sell the thing rather than the relationship, and then that's all they ever sell. Yeah. If you make a relationship, you could end up selling that same individual 50 things, 100 things, and everybody that person knows.
So basically treat people relationally, not transactionally.
100%.
And
always do what you say you're going to do. That's 4, but that's an important one.
When I look back, when I started my business, one thing I should have done is to kind of jot down, and have a standard operating procedure from very beginning before I got bigger, right?
100%.
So that this way, I'll be able to train people faster and be able to, get things on a faster plane. Because in the moment, you're just too busy making money, and everything is here. But then when your business grows, you can't assume everybody knows everything in here. But if you put everything in a system, like for example, Lightspeed.
100%.
Right? I would have had everything, and if I had a system like that,
yep.
I would have been so much further ahead. So a lot of times entrepreneurs start this business and they're like, well, I'm just trying to make some money. I'm just trying to make money. And they don't really think long term.
Yep.
I mean, that's how this happened to me. I had to go back.
I'm doing it right now in my own company, which is funny because it's like a landscaper with a shitty backyard.
Yeah.
Well, they're too busy worrying about everybody else's yard.
Yeah.
So that's a 1,000%. Now that you said that, I'd even replace one of the ones I talked about, because most people think they're building a business and they're really building a cage.
Yeah.
A business is something where if you disappeared, it would continue or improve without you. Unfortunately, if I left my business right now, that's not the case. So I built myself a job.
Yeah.
Now, I got a little older, got a little wiser, and you're exactly right. If I could do it all over, I would have documented and created systems for everything. And I'd be 10 times bigger, but B, I would be 10 times more sane. I'd have less gray in the old beard. Yeah. So 1,000%, man.
And the book that I recommend everyone is the good old Michael Gerber, E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah.
Talks about, most small business owners, they're a slave to their business.
Yep.
Because they don't have any standard operating procedures, they don't have any systems in place.
Yep.
And something like Lightspeed can totally do that right away, a lot faster than they would. So how about, young entrepreneurs? Right now we're in a, I remember 15 years ago, one of my clients, came in, we're great friends. His name is Dan Charlier. He was been on a podcast. He comes up to me to sign up at my gym. I said, what do you do? He goes, I'm an entrepreneur. I go, what the fuck is that? Like 15 years ago was the first time I heard an entrepreneur. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That was probably meant unemployed. You know what I mean? But he was a true entrepreneur. But these days, we have so many entrepreneurs. You see it all the time. Everybody and their mother is a entrepreneur, an entrepreneur, whatever they want to call it. What advice do you have from somebody who's want to get into entrepreneurship, and what they need to do to make sure they're successful? Because we got a bunch of young guys watching this show, and everybody wants to, make $50 million in the next 2 years and want to hit it big. And, when I talk to them, yeah, man, I want to make $100 million in a couple of years. I'm like, do you seriously? I'm open-minded, but I'm like, okay, what is the game plan? What do you say?
I say go for it, man. It's possible. Anything's possible, so I'd say go for it. But there's a lot of things you should pay attention to, and if you're a perpetual optimist, I think you'll be fine. But the problem is those type of people, they'll go out there with all the enthusiasm, get hit in the face the first time, and quit, like my dad did. Like I've seen a million times. I'm going to go do this, and then when it doesn't happen, they quit.
Stop.
Or they stop and they pick something else, and they pick something else, and pretty soon, they're just losing at 500 things. But it's possible. So I would say that you want to definitely stick to it. Like not the same thing, because you need to make adjustments. But I would say don't give up. Like people that never quit are usually the ones that end up succeeding. Like I could have quit a million times. For 8 years, I was, pulling a dead horse. Nobody was open to training online. They're like, who's going to do this? No. We train belly to belly. Thanks anyway. Oh no, this can't be done online. This can't be done that way. And most people would have quit. 8 years struggling. 8 years. There was points where I hide my car down the road so the repo dudes wouldn't find it. Because it was like 2-3 months, and technically, if they found it, it's getting repoed. So I would park down the street and walk home. So when they drove by my house to find the car, it wasn't there. They would have to go find it. Hopefully, that person didn't have their car out for repo, because then they'd get 2 for 1. But at the end of the day, I'd make a sale, get my payments caught back up. But it gets tough, and it's going to be tough. So to help them succeed, I would say, listen, don't kid yourself and think everything's going to be peachy. It's going to be tough. You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to get beat up repeatedly. And if you're okay with that, move forward, which is what I would recommend. Because I don't recommend working for other people, but I also don't advise against it. Like sometimes it's just as easy to work for someone else. Like you don't always have to be the person. I, fortunately, didn't like being told what to do, even from a little kid, to where I had to start my own thing, because you can't tell me what to do. If anything ever happened to where, man, I'm back to square one, I'd just start another business. But the biggest thing is look for things that solve people's problems. Don't avoid problems. Look for them. Look for problems and try to figure out ways to solve them. Because that's what people buy. They don't buy products. They buy solutions. This right here is a solution to many things. People, supplements, fitness facilities, they're solutions. I want to get in shape. There's your solution. I want to be healthy. There's your solution. People buy solutions, not products. It's hard to answer, what should someone do? One of these days, I'd like to just get all my friends together, all the successful friends together, and just not even, say that they're being filmed. Just put a bunch of cameras in a room and just hang out with a couple of drinks and
that's the best, man.
Literally hear them. When I do my podcast, at the end, I'll stop the recording, and then a lot of times that's when they'll really start talking. And I always think to myself, but I can't do it because it only lasts for a second. Then people wouldn't want to be on my podcast.
Yeah.
But I wanted to call it hot mic, which is like after they think it's off.
Yeah.
That's when the podcast really begins.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the filter is off.
Oh yeah.
Everything is off. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of times people come in, you ask them questions, and they're like, well, I think, blah, 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 blah. Then the podcast goes off. It's like, okay, thanks, good job. And they're like, yeah, well, man, I'll tell you, fuck. And, that's when the real shit starts coming out.
Yeah. And you know what, man? And that shouldn't be that way.
No.
That shouldn't be that way. Because, if you can't say what the fuck you want to say on the fucking, on the camera, then, you know what I mean? I've learned that I'm going to be me.
Me
You
too.
know what I mean? And it is what it is. You don't have to like me. And I'm not trying to please everybody. It's unfortunate when somebody has to have two different faces on. That to me is too fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's to be like, oh, well, what did I have to be like in front of this person? What did I have to be like in front of this person? And all that kind of stuff. So to me, it's just too hard. And I know that, when I got Bradley here, he's the real deal Bradley. I know when you speak on stage, you are who you are, and you might at times offend some people, but you don't give a fuck because you are speaking the fucking truth and you're speaking from the fucking heart. And I always say, not everybody approved of Jesus.
True.
And they sure as hell are not going to fucking approve of me and you. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, that's another thing people need to realize. If you talk, you're not going to make everyone happy.
It's true.
So you might as well try to make yourself happy. And that's what I do. Like, I'm still thinking about the question you asked 5 minutes ago because I'm trying to think, what can I say that would guarantee it? And I can't come up with an answer because there is no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
The only guarantee is you can try. The only guarantee is you have a shot. There is a chance. It is possible. If someone could just realize that it is possible, and then they realize the facts, which is everything boils down to choices. Mm-hmm. You made the right choices or you wouldn't be here. You've made some probably bad ones too. So have I.
I continue to do so.
But when you look at someone's life and their level of success and what they've accomplished, you can determine how well their choice maker works. Because it boils down to choices, dude. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you have a choice to be is grateful. Most people aren't grateful. They wake up, they're bitching about something else, and it's like, it's amazing to me. Because if I just gave you $1 million, people get excited. They're like, oh shit, I'd be so happy for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'd be pumped. If I gave you $1 million cash, nobody could ruin your day. You'd have the best mindset. You'd be the most positive person on earth. You'd be so grateful and so happy. But yet, if I said, what would you rather have, $1 million or life? People would be like, well, life. Right, well, every morning you open your eyes. So you realize you get another day, and you're not even pumped up.
I'm grateful for it.
It's almost like shit. You expected that.
So good, man. This is so good.
You need to be grateful in the morning, but it boils down to choices. The choices that you make and the perspective that you have will determine your life's path. So now that I've talked through what you said, there's only one thing: learn how to make good choices, because it boils down to choices. Success is choices.
Series of choices that you make to where you go.
Period. So improve your ability to make choices. And what's funny, we inherently already know what's a good choice and what's a bad choice. Like, what should I have? A donut or a frickin'
chicken sandwich?
Yeah, or something good. We already know the right answer. Now, that could change. Like, hey, what if I'm dying tomorrow and I know it? Well, then maybe the choice is a donut. Yeah. But nobody knows every situation. I just know this. And this is a fact. It boils down to choices. If you see someone successful, in your mind, what successful is, they've made good choices. Yeah. Period. So you want to be successful, guaranteed. You're starting a business. You want to be an entrepreneur. Perfect making choices. And they're not even that difficult. Success is really not difficult. It's consistency that's difficult. It's freaking discipline that's difficult. It's when your buddies say, hey, let's go party. Now you found a little success. Go buy a Ferrari before you bought any investments. Like, that's what's difficult. Next thing you know, you failed. And people are like, what happened? Yeah. Well, really, what happened? You took all your fucking money and you blew it. That's what happened. Like, a lot of times when people get, let's say, a large chunk of money and then they go broke. I know people that have done that, and you hear about people.
I've done that in the past.
Well, here's why it happens. Because if someone just gave you $10 million You go buy a nice house, some nice cars, some nice clothes, some nice watches. Next thing you know, you have $1 million in the bank left and a bunch of nice ass shit. Everyone's gonna go, wow, he won 10 million, he's rich. But at the end of the day, once those taxes and those expenses start drilling out that 1 million, now you can't afford things. And now you start selling everything that you got for less than you paid for it. Pretty soon you're broke. Everyone says, what happened? Well, what happened is when you got that $10 million, you shouldn't have went out and bought all those things. You should have invested that $10 million to get recurring revenue from it, even though it may, let's say it's 10%. So now you get $1 million a year. Well, I can't afford this with $1 million a year. Right. That's because 10 million, you can't afford what you just bought, even though you could buy it, should have invested it. Now you have that million. And then that million, live on, $250,000 and reinvest it. And over 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of people think Grant Cardone has all that money from sales. Dude, Grant didn't make his money from selling anything. He made his money from buying. Okay? Grant has a lot of money from buying, not selling.
Buying real
Think
estate
about that. Oh yeah. He's been investing wisely for 30 some years. He wouldn't have a jet if he was just a sales trainer.
Oh yeah. How many courses are you going to sell to? You know what I mean?
Dude, and he sells a lot.
No, he sells a lot, but he won't pay for the jet.
Yeah, like I know that he's he's been up to $5-6 million a month from his VT system, roughly, not exactly, because I wouldn't know exactly.
Yep.
But I can't say. But he does do quite well with his VT system. He'd be very successful if he never invested a dime. But a lot of people see his jet and his lifestyle and they're like, wow, he makes all this money. Dude, he takes all his money and he puts it in investments, and he's been doing it so long.
$5-6 million a year, and then you're going to pay for a G7.
No, he's been doing it so long that now all of the passive and recurring revenue that comes from the investments, that's what he's using now to buy all this fancy stuff, and it's never going to go away. It's generational wealth.
He's definitely set himself up for success, and and his family. And I mean, and I respect Grant. I respect his grind. He's unapologetic him. He'll tell you, man, you're going to come in. I'm going to sell you some shit. I'm going to change your life. And his books and his courses and all that kind of stuff. They're good. I've had them all. And I just like every time I feel a little lazy, I look at him, I'm like, man, Grant is over 60 years old. He's been pounding it. And this is Grant.
For a long time.
For a long time. And he's not stopping.
But it's taking his money and putting it away.
Yeah.
Or not putting it away, investing it.
Investing it.
So that's another thing if I could start over and do it again, here's what I would do. I would invest money more wisely, and I would seek knowledge faster. I had to learn everything the hard way. I got a book coming out called The Hard Way.
The hard way.
Yeah. Number one, I'm in Vegas, so it's like craps, the hard way. But it's the hard way. Should I learn the hard way so you don't have to? It's just lessons I've learned the hard way. Like I got my teeth kicked in. There's a whole bunch of them that if someone just learned through my book, they won't have to go. Coming out? Whenever I finish it.
I would love to read that, man.
It's about half done, but it's there's a lot of stories. Even the opening line is death is the best teacher.
Wow.
But you can't afford its lessons.
Yeah.
Because you'll die.
You'll die.
So I died when I was like 2.5 years old. My dad just came to get us from the orphan. This is how the story goes. I don't really remember this. But apparently I kept getting under the sink, and under the sink was turpentine. So I got under the sink and I drank turpentine. And they came home, found me basically laying there, blue, dead, pretty much dead. So they picked me up, rushed me to the hospital, and technically I was dead. So they brought me back, obviously, but that's, the best teacher on earth is death. But you can't afford the lesson. That's how the book starts.
I love that, man. I was like, what? And then now when you explained it, I'm like,
then there's patience, dude. People always say have patience. Let me tell you something. Patience can kill you. I totally disagree with patience.
I don't have it. I don't have it, and I refuse to have it.
Well, again, and look around. So you're backing up my lesson.
Like people are like, do you want something correctly or do you want something fast? I'm like, there's no reason it can't be done efficiently and be fast.
Yeah, when people say have patience, what they're saying is, relax. No, don't relax, dude. Increase the activity, increase the attention you're putting on it, increase everything you can. Like don't have patience. Yeah. Patience can kill you. It could have killed me. When my dad brought me into the hospital, the nurse ultimately thought we got a dead kid here. So she told my dad, have a seat. I'll get a doctor and, have patience. My dad freaked out, didn't listen to her, kicked in the door, screamed, yelled. Doctor came over, said, baby's gone. Didn't have patience, said, work on the baby, do what you got to do. Long story short, they brought me back to life. I would have been dead if my dad had patience. 20 some years later, my first wife has our first son in a child seat. The handle was recalled. It was faulty handle. So she put it up on her leg like this to get in the car, and boom, it flipped the baby out through the thing that was faulty, right on his head. Didn't cut, didn't bleed, didn't cry. Picked the baby up like, just dropped it on its head, literally. Baby was fine though, didn't cry or anything. My wife, ex-wife, at the time wife, rushed him to the hospital. Hey, I just dropped the baby on the head. The nurse is like, well, it's fine, it's not crying. She's like, no, I just dropped him on his head. Like, we need to get an x-ray or something. Nurse says, calm down, have patience. You see all these crying children around, and this one's bleeding, and just have patience. We'll get to yours as soon as we can, but yours is fine and these aren't, and calm down, have patience. My wife did the same thing my dad did. She kicked in the door, the emergency room started screaming. People were coming over, security came over, doctors came over. My wife was fairly attractive, so I think the doctor grabbed the baby and helped because she was so attractive. But long story short, grabbed the baby and said, okay, let's get it in an MRI, pacifying the frantic mother with no patience. Within 30 minutes, it was being prepped for brain surgery. The doctor said if she would have sat down as instructed to have patience, he wouldn't have made it.
See, man, yeah.
So you don't have patience, man. That's chapter 2. Patience can kill you, bro.
You know what?
Patience can kill you.
Everybody said that, man, and I'm like, dude, I'm just not that person. I've never been that person. I can't sit around for something that takes 10 minutes, to take a fucking hour. You know what I mean? I'm just not. To me, time is the most precious thing that we have, and I want to maximize and be as efficient as possible with every minute, every second, that we have. So what's next for you, Brad? I mean, you accomplished so much. You have helped so many people. You have helped so many businesses. You overcome so much. You have your book coming out, okay? What's next for you? Because I know you're a kind of guy who, probably not going to sit down and rest on your laurels. I've seen how you work with VT. You improve it every single day, every single month, every single year is a brand new system. What is the thing that's going to keeps you up at night? What's the thing that gets you up early in the morning?
Well, I'm really getting into figuring out the art of marketing right now. I think again, when I was supporting all these other people, they were figuring out the marketing aspect while I was just thinking, I don't need to market. I'll just hang and support my buddies, my clients, my friends. Because to me, you got to treat clients like family. So I'm supporting them, and they'll figure out how to market. I learned real quick I should have been the one figuring out marketing. So now I'm learning that. That's what's next. I want to become a master at marketing, but I want to end up looking somewhat like this. I'm gonna master fitness. I've always been kind of, I've never been really round and obese, but I've definitely had chub. I want to master fitness, and then I think I just want to, in the next 3 to 5 years, start building other businesses besides Lightspeed. I want to start getting back into that startup. It's exciting. Like right now, it's like 20 years, bro. It's a long time, and it's like I still love Lightspeed, and I still have a passion for it, and I want to help people.
But it's like Lightspeed is like a baby that's grown up.
Yeah, I want to go. You want a new baby. You got a new baby.
It's funny you say that because with the camp, we started it about 10 years ago, and the camp now has CEOs and CFOs and attorneys and board of directors, and it pretty much runs on autopilot. Yeah. I'm there just to kind of look at overall the big things and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm like, man, I feel like, my baby is grown up and kind of went to college and can take care of himself. Now I need a new baby. That's why I started a 1% Nutrition, 1% Life brand. And even though, it's just, not generating anything close to what camp does, you know what I mean? But I'm not, I'm just like, I feel giggly again because I feel like there's a little kid and I can play around with it. I can change this, I can change that, I can do a little bit of, marketing a little differently. I don't have to go through a board of directors and, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm having fun again, man. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Will you ever just totally retire and just, are you that kind of person that can say, you know what, I'm totally done. I'm just going to sit by the beach, drink an umbrella drink, and just be done with it?
Well, other than the umbrella drink, hell yeah. like, I don't think I'll ever retire, meaning I don't do anything.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that you can help, and I think that's doing something.
Yeah.
So I will never stop doing stuff in that regard. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm gonna figure out how to wrap it all up and kind of be where if you want to meet with me, I'll be over here on this beach or at this pool or at this place, and I'll be happy to meet with you. I'll write people checks, I'll invest, but I'm not gonna be where I show up at an office anymore.
Gotcha.
So 5 years, I guarantee you I won't be at an office.
Well, I'm sure you could do that now, but there's things that you want to accomplish before you get there.
Yeah, well, I'm not a billionaire.
Yeah.
So I have to be a billionaire before I even consider
So
it. But
you
once I hit $1 billion, I think I'm done. I don't need any more.
So you just guaranteed on camera in 5 years to be a billionaire. So I'm going to hold you up to it.
Well, I'm going to do my best, that's for sure. I can tell you this, it's definitely possible, and I can see exactly what I need to have happen, and it's happening, and hopefully it'll continue to. A lot of people say, what keeps you going? And I'm always like, what? They're like, what keeps you going? And I say, well, I'm not where I want to be yet. And they're like, yeah, but you're good enough. Like you're fine.
Good enough is not good enough.
Well, here's my question. When you get up in the morning, let's say you got to take a piss. Why don't you just piss in the kitchen? Why do you go all the way to the bathroom? Like, why do you go all the way to the bathroom? Well, what do you mean? That's where you go take a piss. Right. So if billionaire is my bathroom, why would I just piss in the kitchen? I'm not going to stop in the middle of the road.
I hate good enough, though. I whole fucking thing good enough. Good enough means it's shitty. You know what I mean? To me, good enough is, what is good enough? No, good enough is just, he's just fucking barely getting by. That's good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And here's the powerful part. I think everyone has a superpower. Mine's I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So let's say 5 years from now, you call me and say, Brad, you said, and I say, I changed my fucking mind. because when I was younger, dude, that $1 billion, but I got to be honest, now that I turned 50, dude, 50, I'm like, shit, $200 million ain't that bad. And then when everyone starts laughing, it's like, hey, thought you wanted to be a billionaire. Dude, I'll change my damn mind just like this.
Exactly. And you got to...
I'm fickle.
Yeah. You know what, man? You accomplished enough. I mean, and there you have it, Brad. I mean, you, somebody who almost went to orphanage. Almost, right?
I did go.
You didn't go, but your grandma made your dad to come get
my dad came and snatched us out right, like from what, and by the way, I was so young, I'm hearing this. I don't know for a fact that this is true. And the reason I always say that is because I would hate for someone to come back and say, Brad, you're so full of shit. That never happened. My family says it happened. I don't remember being in that orphanage.
I don't think your family is going to make the shit up.
No.
You know what I mean? So I don't think your family, family makes shit up like, hey, we were millionaires. Maybe that's something made up. But
that's what I lied about.
You know what I mean?
But no, from what the story goes, I was 2, so I don't remember shit. But we were like getting ready to be shipped out in the next day or two to different families, foster homes, when my dad showed up and took us and said, all right, you little bastards, come with me. And he was a good dad as far as like, making sure we were fed. We weren't like, he wasn't a druggie, he wasn't abusive, pretty good dad. Didn't show much love, but he was the kind of dad that believed that children should be seen and not heard. Yeah. But again, it taught me how to survive, man. You can drop me off anywhere with nothing and I'll survive. And he taught me how to do that.
Yeah. And then obviously you dropped out of high school in your junior year.
Yep.
You had, some dead-end jobs and you got into selling. You started selling crazy, because that your output was directly related to your money.
Yeah, I might be the best salesperson on earth. That's a fact.
And you know what? I don't doubt that. Honestly, I don't doubt that.
Well, if anyone would like to challenge, let's set up some sort of challenge. I think I'm one of the best salespeople on earth, if not the.
I would put you against my buddy Joe Ingram, and you know Joe.
Joe Ingram.
Yeah, Big Joe. So I would have you guys go at it because he's
with the beard.
Yeah, big tall guy. I know he knows you.
Joe Ingram.
Yeah,
I think he's in my closer school.
yeah, he is.
Yeah, like he's a constant student.
Yeah.
See, and that's how you know good ones, because he's not sitting there saying I'm the best. He's listening.
No,
he's studying.
He's a student, man.
He's constantly learning and listening. I let him. I have him run closer school sometimes. He's got some good shit.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. And then all of a sudden you saw a void in the market. You saw that, hey, you were getting paid for training, but you couldn't be everywhere at every time.
And I couldn't deliver.
And you couldn't deliver. So then you found a solution to your problem, which was a problem that a lot of people had. And there was born Lightspeed. You partnered up with one of the best programmers out there. He left his job. You guys became
his company.
His company. He became your partner. And now
I closed him. I sold him on basically letting.
And you have shit going on at the time either.
And I didn't have money. Like, dude, he knew I couldn't pay.
You are the best closer, man. You are the best closer.
I closed them. Folks, if you guys really want to succeed in life, figure out how to sell, persuade, and close. Influence.
And you know what? I seen your wife, man. Your wife is very pretty. So you close her too?
Thank you. Yeah, I did close her. She closed me, actually. But no, yeah. So selling and persuading and closing, you're doing it your whole life anyway. The difference between good salespeople and bad ones are the bad ones don't know they're salespeople. Everyone's a salesperson. You're selling somebody on something every minute of every day. You might as well get good at that craft. And you can apply it in any field.
Yeah.
You're a salesman.
Everybody, we all sell. Some are just better than the other, and some will just admit it.
Right.
And some people know, I'm not a salesman. No. Everything you do, you sell.
100%.
Well, Brad, for those people who are listening, for whatever reason they've been under the rock, and they don't know who Brad Lee is, how can they find out more about you, more about your companies and everything that you do?
Just say Google. Like, go type in Brad Lee, L-E-A, into Google, and you'll see me. Start clicking on the links and the podcast. Listen to Dropping Bombs podcast.
By the way, man, that's a badass podcast, man. I got to get on yours, man. So
Thursday, swing by if you got a minute.
Yeah, I'll come by, man. I'll send you a quick text.
I'm like you. I only do them live. If you don't come to me, you don't get on them.
Yeah, and
there's only one person I would let do remote. Only one, and that's Gary Vee. And the only reason is because I want to talk to him about patience. I mean, I like a lot of what Gary Vee says, I agree with, but the patience, I bet you if I had him on my podcast, I would end up closing him, getting him to agree that what he means is understand shit takes time, because that's the truth. No. Nothing's overnight. Understand shit takes time. And if that's all he's trying to say, I agree with that. But patience, but patience, my friend, that is not what it means. Patience means that you can have trouble, challenge, delay, and suffering without getting upset. Yeah. Dude, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to do that.
All right, so Google Brad L-E-A.
Yeah, or hit me up on Instagram.
Instagram. Your Instagram handle is?
The Real Brad Lee. And remember, it's L-E-A.
L-E-A.
Most people say, is that Leah? I say, I don't know. Do you drink Tia?
That's so true. Well, brother, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
You got to go back to Disneyland right now, be with your family.
Hey, you just did Sam Bakhtiar's podcast. What do you feel like doing? I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you.